It is predicted that President Trump will die on December 12th, 2024. The date that this video is posted proves that this prediction is being made ahead of time, as does this time-stamped email and forensic notes PDF document. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. Also, there are a number of other videos that have been posted prior, many days before this date. What I am going to do is play a 13-minute clip explaining how the movie Back to the Future predicted 9/11. And after this clip, I will explain how this is relevant to this prediction that President Trump will die on December 12th, on the day that it is announced that he has become the Person of the Year by Time magazine, on the day that he is to ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. It will be a ding, 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 America is out of time. The 1985 movie Back to the Future is about a prophecy that Marty attempts to give Doc about his death by terrorists 30 years in the future. In this video, I will explain how it is clear, beyond a doubt, that God used this movie Back to the Future to warn America about the attack by terrorists in the future on 9/11 in 2001, using planes to crash into the Twin Towers. I will also explain how God has used this Back to the Future movie prophecy to predict that Vice President Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash on December 24th, 2024, and that President Trump will die on December 12th, 2024. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you.
Dear Dr. Brown, on the night that I go back in time, you will be shot by terrorists. Please take whatever precautions are necessary to prevent this terrible disaster.
In the 1985 classic Back to the Future, at a scene called the Twin Pines Mall, we will bear witness to a sudden surprise terrorist attack, perpetrated by a group of Muslim terrorists. The attack is at the Twin, which is a reference to the Twin Towers. When we turn the sign upside down, the digits on the clock read 911 or 9/11. The Twin Pines are a symbolic representation of the Twin Towers. Before the terrorist attack, the twins are present, but after the attack, the twins are gone, replaced with a single pine. This takes place on 9/11, where the twins are destroyed and replaced with a single tower, the One World Trade Building. Also at this scene, Doc shows us two stopwatches, both of which display encoded 9/11s. Is this only a coincidence? The pines are the towers, and this symbol system is confirmed in Back to the Future Part 2, where we see the twin pines appear again on a projection movie screen in Marty's future house. Marty's family gathers around the movie screen, and the twin pines actually morph into the twin towers. This is because the twin pines are the twin towers. The pines are the towers. Pines, towers. And the Twin Pines Mall is the Twin Towers Mall, which is why all the clocks here secretly say 9/11 and why there will be a Muslim terrorist attack resulting in the destruction of the Twin Pines, or the Twin Towers. But the appearance of the towers is not a random backdrop, as we can see the Statue of Liberty lurking just as secretly as the towers, making this scene a secret recreation of New York City, where Marty's family has gathered to stare at Ground Zero. Of these three characters staring at Ground Zero, one of them is completely upside down. But in the entire Back to the Future saga, this is the only time when an upside-down character will ever appear. The hint being given here is to observe the scene from his perspective by turning it upside down. But when doing so, the Twin Towers are clearly shown to be falling down. In the entire history of cinema, this scene of Back to the Future is the most literal depiction ever made showing the Twin Towers falling down. So how is it possible that this scene would occur in a story that already contains a terrorist attack by Muslims at the Twins on 9/11, where the Twins are the Twin Towers, which then execute Hollywood's best depiction of the Twin Towers collapse? But Back to the Future doesn't just portray this attack, it develops into an elaborate warning about it.
Just go back early and warn him. Doc, about the future. You will be shot by terrorists.
But Marty is carrying more essential information about the future. He knows the exact time and date that a tower will be struck.
Save the clock tower! Save the clock tower! Don't forget to take a flyer. Save the clock tower!
In a story we already suspect of being a 9/11 warning, how is it possible that this phrase appears on a flyer telling the future? Then, when the tower strike takes place, a giant flaming 9/11 is ignited in the street. Marty knows exactly when and where this tower strike will happen because it's all written on this flyer and placed in his hands.
In the movie Back to the Future Part 2, there is a scene in which Marty's family are gathered in the living room. It is clear that the directors of the movie have placed in the room what are called Easter eggs that clearly reference New York City. The fact that there are Easter eggs in the scene is not unusual, as the two directors are known for placing Easter eggs in their movies. The original actor of Marty's father, George McFly, chose not to be part of Back to the Future Part 2, and so in order to compensate and disguise his face, the directors had his character in the futuristic 2015 float upside down. In the living room, a TV screen shows an image of two tall, slim pine trees, which is a clear Easter egg that references the Twin Pines Mall terrorist scene in Back to the Future Part 1, and is a hint at the two towers that terrorists took down on 9/11 in 2001. Again, this movie was made in the mid-1980s. In the scene in the living room in Back to the Future Part 2, the TV suffers a technical glitch, and a scene on the screen of two towers moves from bottom to top. However, from the perspective of George McFly, who is hanging upside down, the towers appear to be falling to the ground. I believe it is possible that the director Robert Zemeckis was predicting through his Easter eggs that the Twin Towers would collapse in the future in a terrorist attack. This is not special, as many people in the 1980s predicted this would happen someday. What is special, and what makes the movie Back to the Future a prophecy from the Christian God of the Bible, are the precise references to the date 9/11 in the movie, which are not Easter eggs. Additionally, there is the 17 minutes in between the Twin Pines Mall sign and the Lone Pine Mall sign, which hints at the 17 minutes in between the two planes that struck the two towers. The prophetic reason for the 17 minutes in between when the two planes struck the two towers is that it points to the exact 17 years in between the two space shuttle disasters. And the prophetic reason for that is God pointing to NASA's Apollo 17 mission, which was when the last American stepped off of the moon, which symbolizes America's departure from God, as the moon, a giant rock, symbolizes Christ, and in the Bible, rock is symbolism for Jesus. All other people who have recognized the parallels between the movie Back to the Future and 9/11 fall into one of two groups. One of the two groups offer a New Age type of pseudoscientific explanation in which it is claimed that the director Robert Zemeckis tapped into some supposed collective consciousness, etc., which is malarkey. The other of the two groups are Christians who believe in the devil and claim that Satan or some sort of Luciferian conspiracy are behind these coincidences, which is also nonsense. This channel is the only voice that is claiming that these parallels, these coincidences between Back to the Future and 9/11 were designed by the Christian God of the Bible as a prophecy. As I will explain, the prediction that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash on October 17, 2023 will prove this. This channel is the only channel that is offering the truth regarding this connection between the movie Back to the Future and 9/11. Please share this video far and wide and help get this video to go viral. In the movie Back to the Future, Marty is trying to warn Doc about an event 30 years in the future.
Dear Dr. Brown, on the night that I go back in time, you will be shot by terrorists.
Marty's warning is a prophetic warning of an event 30 years in the future.
Find out in 30 years!
Marty is in 1955 and he is trying to warn Doc about a Muslim terrorist attack at the Twin Pine Mall in 1985, which is a reference to the terrorist attack on the Twin Towers on 9/11. In the movie Back to the Future Part 2, Marty time travels another 30 years into the future from October 1985 to October 2015. The creators of this movie made a prediction that in 2015 the Chicago Cubs would win the World Series. It was meant as humor because the Chicago Cubs were famous for having the longest drought without a World Series championship due to a supposed curse of the billy goat. Goat is Antichrist symbolism. A curse is also Antichrist symbolism. The Chicago Cubs didn't win the World Series in 2015 like these writers predicted they would, but they won the World Series the year after in 2016, their first World Series win in over 100 years, breaking the supposed curse of the billy goat. In the 2016 World Series, the Chicago Cubs played the Cleveland Indians, the team with the second longest drought without a World Series championship, and another team with a supposed sports curse. The two teams had a combined 176 years without a World Series championship. This World Series went to Game 7, and after 9 innings, the game was tied at 7 and went into extra innings. After 9 innings, there was a 17-minute rain delay, and during this time, fans in the stadium became quite concerned as a tweet that was posted in 2014 went viral on their smartphones. This tweet from 2014 read, 2016 World Series. Cubs versus Indians, and then the world will end with the score tied in Game 7 in extra innings. #apocalypse. In a similar story, another guy became famous for having written in his 1993 yearbook, Chicago Cubs 2016 World Champions. You heard it here first. He said that he knew the Cubs would win in 2016 because of a vivid dream he had when he was 6 years old. The writers of the movie Back to the Future predicted that the Cubs would finally win the World Series in 2015, but instead they won in 2016. This is because it was necessary that the Kansas City Royals won the World Series in 2015. It was their first World Series appearance in literally 30 years, and the Kansas City Royals have only won 2 World Series, the World Series in October 1985 and in October 2015. This just happens to line up with the 30 years prophecy in the movie Back to the Future, and Marty's time travel from October 1985 to October 2015. In other words, the writers of the movie Back to the Future were writing a baseball prophecy without realizing it. In the Bible, 30 years symbolizes a king. King David and Joseph were made kings when they were 30 years old. The Royals were crowned kings of baseball exactly 30 years apart. The same 30 years time span as the prophecy in the movie Back to the Future. Today is December 11th. On December 11th, it was learned that Trump would be named Person of the Year for Time magazine, and that Trump would ring the bell. I should say, it was learned on December 11th. that on December 12th, Time magazine would announce that Trump had been named the Person of the Year. And it was learned on December 11th that on December 12th, Trump would ring in the morning bell at the New York Stock Exchange. This sign, which was revealed on the 11th to occur on the 12th, is an 11th hour going into the 12th hour sign. This sign with Trump ringing in the bell will be near Ground Zero in Lower Manhattan at the New York Stock Exchange. And on 9/11, through the events at Ground Zero, God communicated the 11th hour going into the 12th hour. For America to repent and turn back to God or else destruction, because Flight 11, which incidentally departed from Governor's Island, Logan Airport, where the first governor of Massachusetts lived, John Winthrop, who led the 11-ship flotilla of pilgrims across the Atlantic to their promised land. Flight 11, with a crew of 11 people, flew into the Twin Towers that looked like a giant 11 in New York State, the 11th state to join the Union. And New York City is made up of 11 letters because Jesus coined the phrase the 11th hour, which referred to the last hour of daylight before darkness in ancient Israel. And in English is an idiom that means last chance. Time is running out. As in last chance for America to repent and turn back to God, or else judgment and destruction, which is what God will be communicating with the death of trumpet, God's trumpet that he uses to trumpet and highlight his prophetic signs. The Israelites blew the trumpets, one long last trumpet blast, before the walls of security of the ancient city of Jericho collapsed in God's judgment. Joshua led the Israelites, and he died at the age of 110, and this is why it was 110 stories of the Twin Towers that collapsed on 9/11 and engendered a small earthquake that cracked the foundation of Federal Hall on Wall Street. On 9/11, Trumpet called into Channel 9 News and inadvertently trumpeted that his tower on Wall Street had become the tallest tower in Lower Manhattan. Wall Street was named after the 9-foot-high wall of security that the Dutch built to keep the British and the Indians out, which is why Trumpet called in or trumpeted into Channel 9 News. The number 9 is the most important number in God's sciences. From the Bible, it symbolizes God's judgment. In the 9/11 events, there were some 88s, including Trump. Trump in archaic English means trumpet or the sounding of a trumpet. And the word Trump and the name Trump are equal to 88 in simple English gematria. In the 9/11 events, in the Twin Towers, there was the story of the heroes of the 88th floor. The famous story of the heroes of the 88th floor. Also, the Twin Towers were commemorated by the Tribute in Light art installation that was made up of 88 searchlights. Through the 9/11 events, God pointed to George Washington, who was inaugurated in Federal Hall, in which the foundation was cracked on 9/11, which was symbolic of America's foundation in God being cracked. Washington then, after his inauguration, marched down Wall Street, as in the Israelites marching around the walls of security of Jericho. He marched down Wall Street into Trinity Chapel, where he consecrated the nation to God, saying that if the nation were to ever turn away from God, it would lose its divine protection and blessings, which it temporarily did on 9/11. Trinity Chapel was the only building at Ground Zero to have survived the falling debris and did so without a broken window or a scratch due to the 70-year-old sycamore tree that was uprooted as it sheltered the chapel. Today there is a 20-foot-high bronze statue of the roots of this tree to commemorate the tree that saved the chapel. And in Isaiah chapter 9:11, the warning from God regarding the raid from the ancient Assyrians and the terrorists on 9/11 were from the same part of the world. The world's first documented terrorists, the Assyrians, their raid on ancient Israel, it involved the uprooted sycamore trees and describes how the bricks have fallen. According to Wikipedia, there are 88 places in America named Washington. All of this aligns with the prophecy in the movie Back to the Future, in which the plot is about a prophecy. The iconic scene in the movie Back to the Future is when Doc excitedly jumps up and down after the DeLorean first time travels. He jumps up and down excitedly, exclaiming, 88 miles per hour. 88 miles per hour. The DeLorean then time travels, vanishes, except for the vanity license plate that spins on the ground, and the vanity license plate reads "Out of Time." The movie Back to the Future is about a prophecy. And within it is a prophecy from God. The prophecy that is the plot of the movie Back to the Future is Marty trying to warn Doc of what will happen to him 30 years later, when in the parking lot of the Twin Pines Mall, as in the Twin Towers, terrorists emerge and shoot and kill Doc. The movie Back to the Future is about a prophecy, and within the movie Back to the Future, God has embedded a prophecy that clearly was warning of 9/11. At the end of this video, I will play a clip from another video that was produced and went viral regarding this amazing parallel between 9/11 and the movie Back to the Future. It's very clear. You will be shocked. The explanation at the end of the video, of the clip regarding this, from the person that originally put together this clip, does not believe in God, and that's why this person came to the wrong conclusion, which is that Robert Zemeckis had somehow tapped into the universal consciousness, etc., and knew to be predicting 9/11. But he did not. He did not know he was predicting 9/11. It is a prophecy from God. The prediction being made in this video, this prophecy, will prove this. The prediction, the prophecy that President Trump will die tomorrow on December 12th, after or even perhaps when he rings the bell in the morning, will prove that the prophecy within Back to the Future was a warning from God regarding 9/11. On December 12th, okay, so Back to the Future, the iconic scene is of 88 miles per hour. God was warning through the 9/11 events of the 11th hour going into the 12th hour. The date 12/12 hints at the 12th hour and the beginning of darkness. It was learned that Time magazine and Trump ringing the bell was learned on the 11th, that Trump would ring the bell on the 12th, and that Time would announce that Trump is the person of the year on the 12th. Trump is equal to 88 in simple English gematria. A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. The movie Back to the Future embeds in it this prophecy that is predicting the death of Trump. 88 miles per hour, and the license plate out of Time hints at the death of Trump, 88, on the day that he is announced to be the person of the year by Time magazine. Also, for good measure, the movie Back to the Future takes place in California, which is also equal to 88 in simple English gematria. But when Trump rings the bell in the morning and then dies, it will be the last Trump sign that will communicate, ding, 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 America is out of time. Out of time to repent and turn back to God, and now is the 12th hour of judgment and destruction of America.